Or as I've heard so much, banana. It's a surprisingly detailed amiibo. All right, welcome to episode 180 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, Steven.
Good day.
And Chase.
Hello.
You guys have swapped intros. So for unforeseen outside reasons, Rachel will no longer be with us. She's had to leave the show, so that will be a thing for the time being. So right now, it's to be just the three of us as the main cast for the show for the foreseeable future. On occasion, we'll have guests and things on, or if Chris ever decides he's still friends with us, he'll show back up. Or we'll just put a picture in the corner and just say he was there, but very quiet. We could do that. So, all right, let's jump straight into what we've been doing, because I've got to mute because my neighbor's cutting the grass again and it's getting louder. Steven, what you been doing?
No, I'm just kidding. I already mowed my lawn. Surprisingly, I've been playing ZZZ.
Shocking.
As soon as I get paid, I need to give them more money. And I do have to give Marvel Rivals some money because those symbiote costumes look too good, especially on Squirrel Girl. I'm sorry. Her entire tail is a mouth from Venom, so it's just too good. So
The whole tail?
yeah, her whole tail, and it's got like an animation and everything. I was like, all right, you got me. Like,
I can make a terribly inappropriate joke, but
I was like, those look really good. I confirmed my fears is everything most of the stuff you download from Steam Next Fest demos. They revoked the licenses after the week is over. So I clicked on a bunch of games and said no. And I was like, well, maybe this one still has one. And it was Devolver Digital's Ball X Pit. And it's got to the point where Christian tried it out, and I think he's buying it. But this is going to sound really weird, but it's
weird on this show?
When people are like, how is the game play? It is Space Invaders meets Bust a Move, Puzzle Bobble, meets Vampire Survivor. Because you're shooting all these monsters coming down almost like slow Space Invaders, and you're getting experience that then you can get different ammunition and different power-ups as you collect the experience, and they become more and more. You actually face bosses. It's just very fast-paced and frantic, but the demo's really good, and it's something I'd like to play on Switch too. So I was just like, I hope that Devolver brings it over to consoles, because it was pretty fun.
That's weird, but I do want to try it.
Lastly, while everybody else is having a bonanza, I decided to be player number 8 and go into the Shadow Labyrinth with Puck Man. There is a DLC for $2 that in one of the modes you play through, it will enable the original arcade sound effects from the old Pac-Man.
Really?
But during the main game, you still are having the sound effects of classic Pac-Man. Not a spoiler, but I do not like that the game begins with you being in the mech. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I ever wanted.
Mech game.
It was really easy updating it to Switch 2. Just you can actually go to the game information, and it's right in the game information on the when you go to the eShop. It'll be like, here's DLC and here's the free upgrade for it to upgrade to Switch 2. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So that was really quick and easy. It runs beautifully unless you're going to transition to another screen. Then everything just jitters to like half frames as you go to the next screen.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's really like affecting gameplay. It's just something that's just there. It's not like a frame skip or anything. It's just there.
Yeah, it's just transition jutter, which is infamous for these kind of games for decades now.
Yeah, because this one's done in almost like a marionette puppet style, the way it is. I think I'm still in the tutorial-esque area because it's not giving me a lot of enemies to kill, and it's still holding my hand of what I need to do. Like, oh, you found this. This is how you use this. And I was just like, how many things am I going to find before I can go off on my own? So I'm getting there. But yeah, so far so good. I will say yes, the mech sucks because it's got 2 moves: swipe and dash.
Hmm.
But when you're the player, you can slice in 8 different directions. You can do a stun move. You can dash. You can kick. You can slide. Um, you can become Pac-Man and jump all over the place. Like, there's so many moves he has, and then you become this big, powerful being, and all you can do is punch and move. And I was just like, I don't want to become that thing ever again. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep going with it. I beat the first boss and got to see the famous scene from the trailer where Pac-Man eats the boss that you beat up. So, see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up my copy next week when I get paid. They're holding on to it. Apparently, I'm the only one that pre-ordered it, so I'm the only copy in the store. So that's at least good to know. Beyond that, I had a quite an eclectic collection of games I picked up this week. Starting off with the weirdest one I've played called Fight Crab, where you are literally playing as different types of crabs and crustaceans, including shrimp and other things, and just punching the crap out of each other or using weapons, including clubs, maces, shields, knives, guns. You can call it an airstrike, which calls in what looks like a cross between an F-17, F-15, and a A-10 Warthog, which you can imagine how weird that looks for some of the add-ons, with a crab riding it that flies through and drops bombs. And I've taken some hilarious screenshots with it because it has a photo mode of all things. Such a weird game to have a photo mode. But even as weird as it is, I ended up playing it for a couple of hours. Like, I was oddly entertained because you keep unlocking weird new modes and levels. And I know I haven't got all the crustaceans yet because I've seen in the trailers you can get a mantis shrimp with that whole lovely fast punch, and I really want that. But I haven't got it yet. I just want to see if it actually has it. So yeah, I bought it as a joke, thinking this would be a terrible game. It was $34, and I was like, no, I'm actually really liking this. It's stupid in all the right ways. So give it a go. Probably easier just to find it online digitally, but if you do find the physical copy, it comes with a sticker sheet of crabs, which I don't know what I'm going to do with yet, a movie poster style, because all the art on the front of the game looks like a 1950s B like sci-fi movie from Japan, like
Yeah,
lettering
there's
and
almost
art.
no English on it.
Yeah, well, there's in little words in the bottom fight crab, but everything else is in Japanese. But it's such a great one. Try it out. The other game I got with that order was the Plucky Squire. I know we talked about this one before, and I finally got a hold of it and played it for a while. I think I'm like 6 chapters in. I think there's like 10 chapters. So I've already played through a huge amount of it, and I'm really enjoying it. It's not super complicated, but it is gorgeous. Runs pretty well on the Switch too. A couple little hiccups here and there in the 3D part, but beyond that, like I've noticed some visual bugs, I think, that were kind of happening just because it would change some of the effects as it moved in and out, thinking it was lower resolution. But either way,
Yeah, it
it's a
seems
cute
like
game.
dynamic resolution games, while it pushes to have the highest,
Mm-hmm.
because I just watched how XCOM works on it, and it looks beautiful and runs at 60,
Mm-hmm.
but then it gets a memory leak and runs at 15. So I think some of those games that are uncapped and dynamic
Mm-hmm.
need a performance patch just to make it so they don't get memory leaks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look through the whole list. I know just before we got on the show, Nintendo released an update to the backwards compatibility, and a bunch of games were fixed for Switch 2 now, which included, I know, Portal 2 I saw on there really quick. So I'm going to try that out later on because I was waiting on that one. Apparently, the Batman games are still having problems, so they haven't
Yeah,
done
but
those
now at
yet.
least Nintendo's saying, yeah, there's problems.
Yeah, at least we can acknowledge it. The other game I ordered that I got separately and I've been wanting to play for a while, thank you, Steven, for helping me find my Xbox edition of this, is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And I was kind of worried about playing this one. I'm curious with you two if you've ever had this, where you hear so much praise heaped upon a game, it kind of makes it feel like if I play this, it's never going to live up to what everyone keeps saying. Like maybe they've overhyped it. Um, no, fuck that. This lived up to it. Uh, I ended up losing a lot of sleep and almost being late for work the next day because I played it for so long.
It's one of those games that you're just like, Oh, wait a second, because I watched. I've been watching Maximilian dude play through it,
Uh-huh.
and the last one of the last ones he did, he was like, "I'm just gonna go in this one area and then I'm gonna stop." Because everybody's like, "You still have this much more game to do," and he's just like, "I'm just gonna go in here." And then when he finally stopped the stream, he's like, "Holy God, guys, it's 5:30 in the morning." He's like, "I've been streaming for 9 hours." I was like, "Duh."
Yeah, I think I played until almost 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I have to be
Yeah.
at work in a few hours. But so I was playing the opening. Chase, have you played this at all? Have you seen
Nope.
anything about it? Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I played through the opening.
That's a game you could spoil for me. I don't care.
Well, I other people may not have played it, so I don't want to spoil it just yet. But I was playing through the opening and I was like, okay, it looks pretty good. I get the story. It's very well written. And the concept is pretty sad for what they're doing. A lot of those like pulling heartstring moments, and it's like, okay, it's a little sappy, but that's fine. And you go through the beginning of it, and your group sets sail for the island. And I was like, oh, okay. So I literally was just like, oh, it's a cutscene. I'm just gonna let that run. Let me get my phone. And then all hell breaks loose. And I'm sitting there looking at the TV going, what is going on? It is absolutely brutal. And then it just picks you up from there and continues the game. And I was like, okay, you have my attention now. I am locked in on this. So I'm looking forward to continuing it. I've pulled a Steven because I have been taking Steven's advice on this and just going, you know what? I don't need to have every game be difficult. I just want to enjoy this. I know I'm bad at RPGs, so I'm playing it on story. There's still a little bit of a challenge. It's not a walk in the park like it just does
yeah,
everything.
there will be places you will die.
That's fine.
Definitely, and you'll
I've
learn
died a
from
few
it.
times already.
You'll definitely learn from it and play with the pictos to kind of get your best what do you call it? Like best combination put through your best little
Right.
system for each character.
What works best for me, yeah.
Yeah, and who you like to use the most, who you think is useless, stuff like that. But yeah, it's basically because the combat designer said he was a big fan of Dark Souls, and at first that scared me because Chris, and I know you're listening, he was horrible at parrying and dodging, so he would get hurt
I'm
a
getting
lot, and I would
better
try
at it.
not to laugh, but some of it looked so funny I had to laugh. And for some people, that could make them not want to play the game because the game's too unforgiving. But I was just like, they have different modes where at least they do a little bit less damage,
Yeah.
and the timing seems a little bit nicer to you because they even patched it recently to give you more of a timing for parries. So that was nice. But it's no slouch. It just makes it so you can enjoy more of it.
Which is what I did. Like I'm getting more into the story. I've gotten to, and this isn't really spoilery. I'm in the coral area.
Okay, yeah.
And I found the person in the house, and the last thing I saw was the creature helping her, and that's where I stopped. So that's where I'm at right now.
I just can't believe that I found that guy on SoundCloud, and he's made over 300 tracks for that game. That game,
oh my god, really?
The game's music will constantly surprise you.
I'm liking what I've heard. It's been nice. The main character still throws me for a loop because you're hearing one voice, but the face looks like somebody else, and it's just like it's a weird disconnect for me.
It's Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil's the voice, Batman's the face.
Like, oh, yeah. If you're calling him Batman instead of like Twilight.
Well, I'm about to talk about a movie he was in that I watched this week as well. So, but the last game I've been playing, of course, as we talked about earlier, is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I know, shocking. I'm playing that. I've already got my amiibo, which weirdly does not do what they advertised. They were like, use this and you could get the dress for her early, and it doesn't work. It just treats this as a normal amiibo and just gives me the Kong letters to throw. And I was like, what the hell, guys? I mean, it looks great. Like I said, this is one of the best looking amiibos for detail. Like her just kind of dangling from his back and everything. Like this is really well done. I don't mind paying the extra for these if they're going to keep the quality up. But the game itself caught me by surprise. I had a feeling I was gonna like it, but when I actually got into it and could start messing around with it, I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun to just dig and tunnel and tear through everything and explore. And I have found so many bananas everywhere. I've one of the first things I did was upgrade the sonar so I could keep looking for things to dig through stuff, trying to get those bananas and finish up levels and so forth. I was having a fairly easy time with it for the first few levels. I think I'm at level 601 now, the forest area. And that is the first one I've like, okay, I'm dying a lot because I introduced like poison water, and you can be just digging through the ground and just fall through into that and try and get back out. And there's like thorns everywhere. Like it's a ramp up in difficulty, but I'm still having fun. Um, the game looks absolutely beautiful. I know there were some people doing technical stuff going like, oh, it dropped some frames here and there. And it's like, I don't care.
Switch 2 has already hit its max specs as there are dropped frames in the 60 frame Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Yeah, somebody
Nintendo
described
has
it.
finally realized that 60 frames is the future, as they said this game is not possible in 30 frames.
Either way, the game is impressive to me, with the physics and everything. Like, I know it's not realistic because you can, was it somebody complained that like you could take the bottom out of a tower, like take the whole bottom of it out and it just floats there. And they're like, it should fall and crumble. And I'm like, I don't care. It's kind of funny to me that everything stays there. But there's a lot of little details. Like, I love the fact you can't punch anyone. If you go up and hit somebody like like the monkeys in the first area, as soon as you go to swing at them, it becomes a high five. Everybody high fives each other. And I was like, that's such a cute little detail. And then they have the little rock people that you can smash, and they really cool looking grow back like to different shapes and things. And sometimes they ask you to hit them, like, oh, I've got a rock stuck in my head. You know, can you hit me and get this out of here? And you'll knock the fossil out of them. They're like, oh man, I feel so much better now. Like, how'd you get that in your head? So I'm definitely going to continue playing it. And this is a really, really fun game. Like, it lives up way better than I anticipated, and I'm looking forward to some of the crazy worlds I'll find in there. So we'll be hearing about that more for sure. Lastly, is a movie we watched I've been wanting to see called Mickey 17, which is I love a good sci-fi with weird stories, and this is one where the main character signs up to be what's called an expendable, where they will just put them into dangerous situations, they will die, and then they just print a new one and they keep his memory backed up and they keep making him. And that's why he's called Mickey 17. He's the 17th iteration of them. And they show him die in so many ways. It's nasty. But it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's one I'm going to buy. We streamed it, I think, on HBO Max, but it was better than I thought it would be. So that was good. So highly recommend that. All right. Well, Chase, I know you had something, but it was pretty much just going straight into the group chat. So let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you boring.
So, Chase, why don't you go and start us off?
I've been playing State of Decay 2 just like on my own time as well, and really enjoying the game. It's one of those games you could pick up and play for a while and then put it down, like especially after like a long day of work or something like that. So that's what I kind of like about it. I finally figured out how to get like the leader boons and stuff, so I was like really happy with that. It only took me having to speedrun an entire map, so I've completed the game now. Technically, like I've completed the game 3 times now, technically. But yeah, really enjoying the game though still. Like, and now that I have this leader boon, now I'm gonna try to get like the other leader boons now that I know how I'm doing it. So I'm currently working on building up
Explain what those are.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So you have a leader, right? You elect like a leader of your camp. There's 4 different types of leaders. So there's builder, there's warlord, there's trader, and sheriff.
Yeah, I think I have sheriff right now.
Yeah, so like the builder, each leader has a storyline, And after you defeat all the plague hearts in a map, you have to do what's called legacy missions, which basically is how you finish the story. And so then you complete the leader's legacy missions, and then you have a final mission. Once you complete that final mission, then they give you the option of are you going to disband the community, like add people to like your legacy pool and disband the community, or are you going to continue the community? And then if you choose continue the community, then it basically just takes everything that you have in your supplies, all that stuff, and you can choose a different map if you want, things like that. But the boons, what the leadership boons are, is you have to put the leader in the legacy pool. But what the boons are is there's something that you can take with you if you create a new community. So for instance, like because I have the builder boon, I get free power and water at my base at no cost.
Oh,
No
that's a
fuel
cheat
cost,
code.
nothing. It's it's actually like everybody pretty much says that it's like it's basically breaks the game because you're basically just taking out an entire function of the game. So I was like, oh well, I guess I picked right. I chose wisely then, as they would say. So now I'm working on the warlord, and then after the warlord, then I'll probably work on the sheriff and the trader. Just that way, I have all 4 of them.
And then you'll be gone.
Yeah. Well, you can only carry 2 with you into like a new community. So like obviously
He's a demigod.
yeah, obviously like the builder one is probably going to be one that most people would pick. The other way that it works. The other way that it works though too is you only get the boons for the difficulty that you played it on and lower. So like if you play it on standard, then you can't take those boons and then try to do like the hardest difficulty to make the hardest difficulty easier.
Yeah.
So so that's something to consider as well. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. Like the game's still really fun, but yeah, so now I've started a brand new, completely like new community. So now I've got to I'm used to having like everything available to me, and now I have to like scrounge for everything again. So it's like, oh man.
We'll help you find weird stuff again.
Yeah.
The last time we played, I found something that Steven was really interested in, and I ended up buying, and it ended up biting me in the ass, and that's airstrikes. Because I was like, this could be great. What could an airstrike be like when I'm in the middle of a zombie apocalypse? So we had it for a while, and I kept forgetting to use it. And we were like, all right, we're going to end for the night. I was like, oh, no, I need to use the airstrike. And this is one of my highest ranked people, by the way. He's like second in line to become leader of the whole group. And apparently you just throw like a little grenade looking thing. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then it showed the icon of where it's going to hit. And we're all in it. And I was like, run.
We ran.
Yeah, you guys ran.
We ran.
I didn't fast enough and ended up getting blown up in my own airstrike and permanently killed my guy. And you guys are watching going, oh no. Oh.
From my perspective, it was just this really weird moment because the first one lands and then your character just like falls to the ground and it looks like he just curls up in the fetal position. And
like wets himself, yeah.
And then the second one lands, and then he just starts like convulsing because he's turning into a zombie. I was like, oh shit, I've seen this before. And then he gets up and he starts hitting Swan, and Swan's just like, what the fuck's going on, dude?
I'm respawning back at base as somebody else because you have to pick a different character. So I lost that one. Had to run over as I watched you guys shoot my guy and kill him.
Yep. It reminds me of that meme, like, if I could edit the video, it would be as soon as the airstrike hits, you see the "we'll be right back" meme.
Oh, I have the clip. I might be able to do that, but that would be great. I need to get, because I think, Chase, you clipped part of it as well.
Yeah, but
I want to see that.
Xbox only goes up to 30 seconds. So
yeah, you can set it longer, but I always forget and it keeps resetting. So yeah. Either way, that was my first character dying in the most idiotic way. I basically blew myself up when I didn't have to. Oh, that was a good character too. He had like all my good equipment and everything. Thankfully, you get that back if you kill yourself. Like you kill your zombified self, you can get your things back. So that was a hell of a way to end the night. last time. This week we'll probably play a little bit more State of Decay 2, and I also picked up Zombie Army 4. So we'll be back into sniping some zombies. But I think from there, unless Steven, you had anything to add to the group chat for this week, we'll go on to the news.
Jinkies.
All right, that tells me we're going on to the news. All right. So first up, we actually have an update. We had a listener reach out to us after talking about the Doom 2025 Super Nintendo port. Was one of the developers on the team working on this game, Roebloz. I apologize if I pronounced it incorrectly, but they were nice enough to leave a comment on the show itself and kind of answer some of our questions, queries, and things we got wrong, which I'm fine with that. They were cool about it. But I wanted to give a shout out and actually bring up their corrections on here or information. So first off, monster rotations are not being added due to the limited memory space to store them, which was already an issue on the Super Nintendo. That's just continuing on. So still no sneaking up on zombies or demons. They will just stare you in the face the whole time. Mouse support, he's heard nothing. He doesn't think it's going to be there. I remember hearing about that as something they found mentioned in the code, but never implemented. And it'd be kind of weird how it would work. So I'm not surprised that that's not there. Nightmare mode isn't new per se, but the original lacked respawning monsters due to Randy not knowing that they were a feature then. This one has that, but it's advertised rather misleadingly as all new, as they worded it. The Rumble controller currently only supports SNES Doom 2025, but the Rumble code has been released publicly for use in other homebrew and ROM hacks, so you can expect Rumble support for other games as well to come out by the time the controllers are in players' hands.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I'm curious to see what games get that added in there and how that could, be affected for a lot of it. But at least this lays down the work for that. Sure, we'll probably see it in Wolfenstein pretty fast. That'd be kind of a perfect game for it. But yeah, I appreciate you putting the post on there and chatting with us over on the YouTube channel itself. And I look forward to playing this game. So hopefully I'll get to enjoy your work. I know I looked at some of your stuff and you were excited about the fact that your name is actually in there, like in the credits and things. So sweet. Good to know. And thanks again. All right, let's move on to our next little story here. We're going from one developer being excited about what they made to another one trying their damnedest to stop it and it getting into an even worse legal muck. So last week we talked about the whole thing with Krafton, the publisher of Subnautica 2, delaying the game, but now they have officially been sued by the 3 studio heads that they fired before announcing that they were delaying the release of the game out of 2025 to 2026. And this got kind of heated for wherever this lawsuit's going to go. So the suit has accused the publisher of different tactics, ploys, and shenanigans, I love the wording of that, to intentionally delay the game outside the original release window required for the bonus payout. We had wondered about this last week, and now the lawsuit is claiming that directly. Unknown World's co-founder Charlie Cleveland had lunch with Krafton CEO Sheng Han, who told Charlie via translator, that's key, that having to pay out the bonus would be, quote, disastrous financially and hugely embarrassing, end quote, for the publisher. So Krafton came back and claimed that this was an issue of mistranslation, but refuses to clarify what was actually said. So they won't go into detail on that. I guess that'll be something they have to bring up in court. The lunch was just a few short weeks before Charlie, fellow co-founder Max McGuire, and CEO Ted Gill were all let go suddenly and the game was delayed. And then they explained some more about the bonus, because we said it was a $250,000 bonus, but it would have been mainly for the 3 previous employees with 10% reserved for the other 40 members. So that's a small chunk for a lot of people. Charlie and the others claimed they were going to share more of it with the employees, but nothing has been shown to prove that, and they could just be saying that to look better at this point. We don't know, was this their intention or not. I've seen companies do that. I think you guys have probably seen that before too, where, we got a bonus and we kind of split it up a little bit differently, but there's nothing on paper that says it. We have no idea, and legally we can't really take their word for it. The lawsuit shows Krafton engaged in events to sabotage and delay the release with drastic changes to hard development, including stuff assigning a new publishing team that didn't speak English, that delayed decisions and delivered incomplete work, issued an internal stop work order and told all Krafton teams to stop all creative tasks related to Subnautica 2. They ordered all U.S. Krafton employees to stop communicating with unknown worlds, canceled trailers, ads, and even a front page PC Gamer article that was being made, and then neglected to write up required terms of service agreements for the game. So that also sounds kind of damning, the way that they're trying to quiet the game down. So we'll have to see legally how this goes on. I don't know how long this thing's going to be, delayed out for everything with both sides going through it. But do you guys have any thoughts on this one, or no?
Sounds pretty
Release
standard.
the files.
Release the files.
Release the files.
Oh,
Krafton.
Lord. Yeah, this whole thing's going to be kind of a mess. I think there's a little bit of iffiness on both sides of it. The Krafton people with the stuff they were doing is pretty damning, but then the other side kind of had some questionable stuff as well. So sadly, everyone's being stuck in the middle on this, and we'll have to wait for Subnautica 2 for however long that takes now. So, all right, let's move on from one questionable development to another questionable development that I know Steven wants to say some stuff about. So let's talk about that. So after Christian Simpson of Retro Recipes recently acquired the rights to the Commodore Corporation, they announced the Commodore 64 Ultimate Edition. As a quick rundown, it's a new AMD Xilinx RTX 7 FPGA powered recreation of the Commodore 64. The system is listed to play, quote, 10,000 plus original games and more, with more RAM and 48 megahertz turbo mode. Uses original carts, CRT TVs, data sets, and disk drives. Can all be used on it. It's supplied cassette-style USB thumb drive with 50 plus games included. You can add your own as well. More memory and faster speed options, dual DIS sound chips, virtual or you can add original ones. Keyboard macros, modern printer support, HDMI, Wi-Fi, game transfer, and other things. And then there's a couple different editions that they're releasing it in. You've got the Starlight Edition, which is a game sound reactive hidden LED color changing case and translucent mechanical keyboard PCB, which is just ridiculous. The Founders Edition features a 24 karat gold plated badges, satin gold keys, a translucent amber case, commemorative Commodore Gold Seal share certificate, the I rebooted C equals T t-shirt, 24K gold Commodore badges, dog tag necklace, and a gold label holographic serial number sticker starting at 1. Basically going from there. And then there's just the standard basic beige, which is the usual one. Mind you, the Starlight Edition's going for $349.99. Founders is $499.99, and the basic beige, which is just the standard clone of the original looking, is $299. So there's a lot of questions around this development. The people that are purchasing it, all the rights, are they going to use AI or not for some of this? There's been accusations back and forth. But Steven, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I know you, out of all of us, are kind of the big Commodore 64 player. Like, you grew up with this stuff, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I don't think the Commodore 64 community is going to like this. I'll speak for them, but I probably won't be speaking for all of them. But, as a Commodore 64 player, and that's not even a good model. The better model is the bigger one where the keys work.
Yeah, no, I wish I could have gotten that, but I found this at a retro store. I just wanted to bring out a Commodore 64.
But it's just like there was two models back in the day, and there was beige and there was white. So you should stay with those two.
Right.
You should have just a white and beige. To come up with all this, like, have the Razor Starlight Edition where it's sound reactive, nobody wants that. Nobody's asking for that. And then the Franklin Mint Edition is just like the dumbest thing ever. Where I was just like, you want to play and use this. You don't want to be like, don't touch it. It's 24 gold-plated BS in a satin bag with a Commodore 64 stamp and a constellation in the sky named after you.
Yeah, don't put your dusty old cartridges in my gold-covered game system.
you know, this reminds me of a certain somebody who bought television and then promised a bunch of things and then could follow through on none of it. So then he just released some games for Switch digitally that suck, and that was it. And for mobile, sorry. Um, so that became a huge fiasco, and it also comes down to uh, some inklings of that Sega Super System, where a guy saying he's going to make a system that plays every Sega system, all of them, all at once, and
Oh,
he's
I
not.
didn't.
He's
Okay, I
also
didn't know
not
they were
evil.
doing that for all. I thought it was just the was like the Jupiter or whatever that was the 32X and Genesis combined, or
Well,
Sega CD
this
combined.
was one of his promises. That's why I'm saying.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he came out the bat saying it was called the Super System because it played everything Sega,
Hmm.
and now he's like, well, actually, and stuff like that,
Ah,
and he even got to the point where he tried to get Slope's Game Room's channel taken down, by claiming a bunch of copyright strikes and a bunch of other stuff. It's a long story that he explains much better
oh,
than I ever would,
jeez.
but yeah, these smaller influencers, creators, fans, um, acquiring the rights and then saying like, I have this idea. It's just like, I know stuff like Kickstarter wants you to have a prototype, and it's not good to just show a 3D printed prototype. I'm like, no, show me something that works. Um, I don't like hearing like original carts, because I was like, the only carts I know of was a fast load cartridge, and if he's already giving us the turbo mode, the cart's useless. If he's talking about older versions of it where they weren't the discs, then those were cassettes. And yeah, you're having a cassette style USB thumb drive, but you can't use the old cassettes because those you literally on Commodore had to press play on tape for it to load the game.
Right.
Um, I don't know why you'd give us a CRT TV connection. It's just like that's not what people have in their house, and nobody's going to trust your system to work with their very expensive Commodore monitor that are rare. Um, those are not easy to come by, so I would never connect this to one. It's just HDMI or nothing. Disk drives, it's like, are you using new connection pieces? Because those use like some really old, archaic connectors. So, and
Yeah.
those are huge things and such. And I hope he knows that, if he's making this like a full size Commodore, that the old adapters never worked very well. So I hope he's using at least the newer type of Commodore 64 adapters. But I think this is one of those things where he's promising a lot, and until there's a working prototype, I'm not buying any of this, and it's eventually going to be covered by Slope's Game Room as being BS if all they say is it's going to have more of this and tons of these things and all these, because some of these surprisingly are still licensed games. That's why even the Commodore 64 Mini couldn't have specific games brought to them. That's
Oh
why you
Lord.
can't get what you really want, which is like Electronic Arts' library from the Commodore 64 is fantastic, and I love a lot of those games. Or the old Lucasfilm games and LucasArts games. So it's like, I don't know how much you're trying to promise here, unless you're just straight putting illegal ROMs on it or something like that. But
Well, they kind of hinted that you could, because you could add your own games or program for it on there, which I mean that's kind of the case for a lot of these, but
it's just like,
still.
start with the basic beige, deliver on basic beige, because I can see that if you try to do the Starlight and Founders, you're going to be like, oh, we found an issue where something's not working, and you'll delay that into oblivion. And I think the Knights of the Old Republic remake will come out before this Founders Edition comes out, because that just sounds ridiculous to have like 24 karat crap on there, because nobody wants that on their PlayStations or Nintendos or anything like that, unless they're just putting it in a glass cube and never using it.
Yeah, I love my gold like Nintendo systems, but they're not dumb enough to make them actual gold. Like gold color is fine. Just stick with that if you want to have it. It'd be kind of a fun take on it, but not
It's
the translucent and the lights seem distractive.
the age people are who love and understand the Commodore. Like I grew up on it. I
They're
played
gonna
it
have
when I was
seizures.
2. Played it when I was 2 years old, according to my mother.
Nice.
And um, yeah, like it was fantastic. And part of it was just like the chipset they used in there to get the voice modules and stuff going. And for him to be like, everything works with it, it's like, I don't know.
Because I
Right
never
now,
got to play a Commodore 64. I did get a hold of and kind of mess around with a little bit like a cousin system of it, the VIC-20, which I think has some relation, but not.
VIC-20 is like the Sega Master System if the Commodore 64 is the Sega Genesis.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I know that had cartridges, so.
But it's just like, start small, build from there.
Start showing
if
something.
your basic beige turned out to be well done, then I would say like, yeah, you should have these other editions, but don't promise these editions when that's a Kickstarter thing, and those never work out. Chase and I know whenever it comes to like exclusive editions of anything through Kickstarter, that doesn't work out very well.
Rarely,
especially for hardware.
What do you think about the cost? Like the basic one being $299.
So with what he says he's putting in there, it makes sense just because the full-sized Commodore 64 mini, but not the super mini like you have,
right,
was like $129, $150. So it was almost $300. So if this one is basically kind of like a Commodore 64 2, like if we're calling Switch 1 Switch 2 and then Commodore 64 1 and 2, we don't talk about Commodore 128, is that $299 sounds fair, but the other two are you're just paying for bells and whistles that are useless.
Yeah, it's just basically an extra $50 for lights and then straight up an extra $200 for a little bit of gold.
Modern printer support just wouldn't work with half of the game programs for Commodore, because those are designed to be printed out like dot matrix, where it's like back and forth. That's how they were designed. They were crude like that. If you put that in a modern printer, I don't think those are going to size correctly. So there's more questions than answers here. So I was like, I don't know. I want it to work out, but I kind of foresee like a story down the line from a different YouTuber like H Bomber guy saying this is the story of how the Commodore 64 failed in somebody else's hands. So
I kind of, just when you said that, it made me think about it. I kind of want to get the $299, just the basic one, just to find out how it worked connected to my almost $1,000 printer, like this high end, really nice photo printer, and just printing out, dot matrix stuff on it. Oh man, that's kind of also makes me wonder if I need to try and hook up my PS2 and see if I can use the printer on that with what was it, Gran Turismo?
If I was
3 or 4, I think.
If I was me and I acquired the rights to the Commodore Corporation, I would look into what I'm able to get. Are there games I have access to or anything like that? Because there's already been a surge of those coming out on modern consoles. Switch has the Epix Sports Collection, which is from the Commodore 64.
Right.
Great collection of games from California Games, summer, winter. Awesome to play. I'm seeing a remake coming out of Forbidden Forest, which is a Commodore 64 game. So it's like Commodore 64 is making a comeback, and they're even having some of these like volumes come out for Switch eShop. So I would have thought he would have done software first because it's so much easier. But
actually, not even software. If he's working on that, if he had the rights to it, because he apparently has the rights to the image of it, because he's already made renders of what the system should look like, and it's based on that. But like for the retro community, start making shirts and stickers and things like that that are low cost to kind of get the name out there more for people to purchase and kind of get it.
Show up at MagFest in these like computer, like retro computer cons, saying like, hey, I'm bringing it back. Help me spread the word with these shirts and stickers and stuff like that.
Yeah, he might. I think he'd make more money from that than he would this 24 karat edition, like just drop that, make the sales on the other stuff. You're already making shirts. They're including one in the big crazy kit, so they're there. And I'm sure that message of the I rebooted C equal is probably a joke. I was hoping you could explain that, because I was like, I'm guessing that's code. I don't know.
I've never really rebooted my system, so I was probably just a regular command.
I mean, it kind of looks like the Commodore logo for part of it, the C equal. I was thinking maybe that was the case, like they rebooted it.
But maybe it's saying I rebooted Commodore.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. But I was going to ask you anyways, just to make sure.
If they were doing the command line, it should be something like load, 8, 1, because that's how you loaded your games and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Chase, you have any thoughts on this? Will be this what you get before you get a Switch 2?
Yeah. Are you gonna get the Founders Edition with all the with the silk bag and it's got the hole in the back for pleasure. It's got a fleshlight on each side, and
Yeah.
It doesn't have Donkey Kong Bonanza, but I'm sure you can find something else equally playable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if that would be available here, to be fair.
We don't know if it's going to be available here either. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a feeling that, like, based on, I don't think this guy's, like, very big. So I don't think, I have a feeling that this is going to probably be, like, one of those, like, probably US and certain markets only type thing.
Yeah, if you're listening, Christian, and not the other Christian, Mr. Simpson, please just like make sure you're not overstepping your boundaries, and make sure you're not featured on Kick Scammers with Slopes Game Room, because that wouldn't be good.
I think Steven, you want him to succeed if he does this right. Like, you would love to see this kind of resurgence of that. Like, so we're not like hating on it. We just really want you not to fuck this up.
Because to me, it's like the famous, what do you call it? It's the famous Futurama line that Bender says.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make my old casino with blackjack and hookers minus the blackjack and hookers. It's just like, okay, don't bite off more than you can chew. I'm glad you awesomely decided, got to own such a legendary icon in the computer scene.
Mm.
Please use it wisely and don't think you can reinvent it. Just like you're saying, you're rebooting it. So take what people like about it, go to forums, and instead of hearing people's pipe dreams, listen to the realistic expectations people want from a revival of the Commodore 64. Is it did they want the rights to the software to come back so they can play the games they really loved? Is it the control schemes? Compatibility, yes, but printer support, really? Wi-Fi game transfer? I don't think we need that, guys. Like, come on.
It'd be kind of nice for development, like the Wi-Fi transfer and stuff. I think that's just part of the FPGA itself.
It's just asking for more to be put into the system, though. It's just,
like I said, I think some of that's just inherently part of the FPGA. It may not be necessarily something they're adding in for the core part of it. It's just like what they're using already has that. But we don't want another Intellivision, the Amico thing, like that just never came out. I don't think we want what Atari did when they revived that and we got this kind of weird looking PC that just popped and went away. Like, we never heard about it again. Yeah. It looked kind of neat, but I don't think I'll ever actually see one in my lifetime. I don't know if I'll ever see it. So, give us something that is actually good that came out. That's kind of what we want.
And this is coming right around the time that Analog delayed their latest system. So it's just like,
yeah, I added that into the Speedrun. I was going to talk about it, but they only delayed that a month. It's supposed to be out next month.
So it's just like, you're coming at a weird time. So I don't know.
All right, so let's move on to our next little bit here. All right, so Nintendo announced the casting for Legend of Zelda, Zelda and Link live action actors. Somebody came in the game room. Anyway, so the live action movie, Legend of Zelda movie that's coming out, we know the actors now. Benjamin Evan Ainsworth is going to be Link. I'm not familiar with any of these actors, but I looked up some of the stuff they've been in. Which is a good thing. Yeah, no, I mean, that's fine. That's not a knock. I don't know them. Apparently was a character named Miles in the Netflix series The Haunting of Bly Manor, William in Disney's Flora and Ulysses, and the voice of Pinocchio in the live action remake. So he's got, some stuff under his belt. And then Bo Bragason is playing Zelda. She played a character called Rachel Winshaw in the BBC One series Three Girls, and the other BBC One series, The Jetty, she played a character called Amy Knightley. Once again, like I said, not familiar with either of them. They look the part from just the pictures they show. I'm sure that could be interesting. One person did kind of jokingly point out that Benjamin's got brown hair, and they're like, oh, that makes us think of the one from the cartoon. So they're like, is he just gonna be like, well, excuse me, princess?
Well, they still have to announce the voice of Link, so that'll probably be Chris Pratt.
He has no lines the whole time. It says, hi.
Jack Black will be Ganon.
No changes. I would take that. That's fine. Oh man, I don't know. I'm still iffy about how this Zelda movie's gonna be. I kind of would. You guys, are you okay with them doing a live action, or would you rather them stuck to animated?
I want them to do a live action because
Okay.
it's the only thing that would properly of their IPs that I think would work the best. Because I think F-Zero should be primarily CGI, almost like Ready Player One ish.
Yeah.
And of course Star Fox. Do not give me real life furries. Like, you can give me that animated, thank you, or
I would take the puppets. I would take a show with them as puppets. 100%.
everything is.
I love that idea.
You could give me the style like Bad Guys, but with Star Fox, like that would be fine with me too.
Okay.
But there's just certain things that work a certain way, and this is the only thing that I believe could work very well as a live action.
Okay. Chase, what about you? What are your thoughts on it for live action versus animated?
I'd actually argue animated. I'd argue that
Okay.
the one franchise that they have that would work live action, my opinion personally, is Metroid.
Thank you.
Like that would
I
be
had
a
the
better
same
live
thought.
action.
John Woo couldn't make it work.
Oh, there's not enough pigeons in space. He
Yeah, I
needs
was gonna
doves.
say,
You
there's
need
not.
doves in space.
I don't know that that's
She turns
necessarily
into a
the best.
He
She
could
becomes
make
the
the
ball.
Chozons a pigeon.
Pigeons.
All the Chozons fly away.
Yeah. I would argue Metroid's probably the best live action. I think animated's probably the better one, and then you could just have like voice actors. But I mean, I don't want to necessarily knock it before we actually see anything, though. Like,
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm not knocking it. I'm just kind of curious, like which
Yeah.
way do you think it'll go? I kind of prefer the animated style as well. Like they did such a good job with Mario. They've gotten that animation studio going, and they've got a lot of work into that, and that would kind of free them up to do more of the fantastical stuff. They could kind of stick to different art styles and be able to change that over time. It could also help with like the aging of characters if they make this a series of movies. It's gonna be a little trickier to do that unless they're changing Links and Zeldas between every couple movies as people grow up.
Also, when Link goes through time, he becomes Chris Pratt. Now we got it. Adult
Damn
Link
it.
is Chris Pratt. Got it.
Chris Pratt's gonna be the king of Hyrule. That's what he's gonna be.
who's going to be Wolf Link? That's the question.
That'll be Jack Black.
Yeah, there you go.
No, Jack Black
No,
is
Seth
Midna.
Rogen. There you go.
Seth Rogen is the wolf. Jack Black is Midna.
Woo.
Oh, this is getting worse. I would like to see a live action Metroid. I think that suit would look amazing if they pulled it off
I
right.
wanted to see it when John Woo was attached. I don't know who I want to do it now. Don't give it to Ridley Scott. He'll make it weird.
I don't think he's at. Yeah, no, I get that. I don't know.
Pretty soon,
We
like you'll have Chozo's like giving birth to like something that doesn't need to be happening.
Like the closest thing to Metroid they just released the trailer for, and that's Alien Earth
Mhm.
from Ridley Scott and somebody else that's supposed to be like their next big series. And just the trailer reminded me of Metroid because there was a lot of humans just like, we're gonna explore their planet.
Oh Lord. All right, so let's go on to our little bit of other Nintendo news tonight. I think this is actually our last main story for the night because it's going to take a little bit. All right. So Nintendo has made policy changes. We're going to talk about them. These are for the changes for the Nintendo eShop itself. They're trying to curb the AI slop and adult-themed games from flooding the storefront, among other marketing tricks. Currently, this is only going to affect Japan and Asia. They don't know yet if this is going to come over to the US side of the stores as well. So keep that in mind, but these are some of the changes they're making. So in the first year of a game's release now, you have a max of 5 game bundles that can be distributed. This goes up by 1 each year, up to a max of 8 to try and stop bundle spam, where devs keep offering discounts to try and stay at the top of listings.
We're looking at you, AAA Clock.
Yeah, keeps coming into there. They're putting a restriction on sensitive content. They list this as games that, quote, would be considered damaging to the Nintendo brand, end quote, including sexualization of children, overly sexual content, discrimination and hate, exploitation of social issues, content that clearly exploits a topical and controversial social issue, tragedy, and catastrophic event. And then Nintendo stated, we encourage you to take this information into consideration when developing content for potential release on our platforms and before submitting such content to Nintendo. They later said determinations may be made on a regional basis. So games in certain areas may be banned because of local regional access. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Which has happened. Yeah.
Yeah. This next one I'm kind of glad about. Prohibition against inaccurate descriptions of games. It is prohibited to provide inaccurate descriptions of the contents of a product. It's also prohibited to provide description of the content of a product as under development if it is not expected to be implemented in the product. So you get less of those games where it's like, we're going to come out and release it, and we promise we'll have this feature or these levels in there, and they keep advertising it but never do it. They have to have something a little more concrete or an agreement with Nintendo to do that before they can. So just a sec. Ooh, should have grabbed some water. All right. Developers can't change the name of a game without good reason or to make it consistent with the game's name on other platforms or other games in a series. So if a series changes names or updates it, they can update it to match that, but they can't, release something and then change the name to try and
this was a big thing with the developers of Unpacking went to Nintendo and said there's ones on there that are called like Unspace Packing and Unpacking Boxes and stuff like that, and they're making all these like different versions of it, and it's like they're basically taking our name. So yeah. I'm glad they're doing that,
because they would do it without even having gameplay that even was close to it. Like they would just try and
push
whatever cell they could do.
It was so rudimentary that it was nothing like the true one.
Yep. Developers are prohibited from changing information on the product page after the page is live. This is also kind of nice because they can't go in there and add in features of like, oh, this other popular game says it does this. We'll say we have it. We may not even include it. And that's happened a bunch of times where it's like, yeah, get this action game. It's like those stupid cell phone game ads you would see. It's like, go play this. And it shows all this gameplay, and the actual game is just like this.
Which is now its own physical edition for Switch, which is fun because it's the actual game.
Oh, that's hilarious. Screenshots have to be accurate to the game. Thank God. So they can't just post like renders and, high-end PC versions or so forth. It has to actually be what is on the Switch or on the Switch 2 or whatever Nintendo system. Developers will also have to contact Nintendo reps if they intend to distribute an application that does not include game elements like alarm clocks, calculators, etc.
Thank God.
So they're not prohibiting them.
To get off the eShop for $10.
Yeah, I'm fine with people making stuff like that, but yeah, clear it with them before you're just flooding the market with it. Like,
don't put it with games. Put it as an app.
Yeah, and limit what they do for that. Excuse me. They continue, in the event of any violation of these guidelines, Nintendo may refuse to sell the product, request revisions, limit the scope of disclosure by not displaying it on various pages, including Nintendo eShop homepage, or suspend distribution on Nintendo platforms regardless of the reason. And then, notwithstanding these guidelines, similar measures may be taken if Nintendo reasonably determines that there is a violation of laws, regulations, or other contracts, rules, etc. And then they continued on. Some developers and consumers, they didn't continue, but there were some other ones. There were some developers and consumers had a few concerns with the changes, stating that things like Nintendo always had the ability to curb what was on the eShop, but chose not to, believing Nintendo should have a more Steam-like system with tagging and recommendations to kind of filter out a lot of the games. And then there's also concerns that limitation on legitimate titles that do push social context as mature themes and certain genres outside of the socially accepted norms like horror, non-sexual, and sometimes sexual, adult themes, etc. And I was looking through my collection just to see a couple titles that could have fallen on this, just as my thoughts. This is not guarantees of them, but like Catherine, which is adult sexual relations, could be related to that. Cult of the Lamb, which is living sacrifice, demonic themes, indoctrination. Disco Elysium, you can straight up punch a kid in the face. I know, because I did it and it was hilarious. Drug use, alcohol abuse, sexual content, death. Nintendo's own Emio, which has death of children, abuse, self-harm, pretty graphically shown. So their own thing would kind of be questionable with it. And then Shin Megami Tensei, or the Persona series, which has sexual imagery, self-harm, and demonic themes. All of these are games that are very successful and people enjoy on Nintendo systems and other systems, but could be skewed depending on the location. Kind of they'd have to kind of figure out how that works. And I guess my concern is like for certain regions, if they try and ban stuff, like someone said Doom wouldn't come out in certain places because it has demons, and that may not be allowed in certain spots because certain groups may not want it. Go ahead, Steven.
I think I'd love to know what those developers are thinking, or who those developers are, because I think this is kind of like if they are getting worried, they're probably the ones that made the egregious ones to begin with. They made the hentai paradise and the slide puzzle hentai 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I don't think this is Nintendo returning back to its old ways of removing crosses and taking out the word bar from Final Fantasy VI and stuff like that.
Right.
So there's no bars and stuff like that. I don't think this will happen. I think the bigger concern here wouldn't be like what Nintendo's doing, other than the fact that they're trying to kind of clean up their shop, especially with the recent stories that payment processors are pushing their power upon Steam, saying we don't want our payments. We don't want people buying games that are associated with themes we don't agree with. So Valve is quote bending the knee, saying like we're going to have to be removing a bunch of adult games because it's not in the payment processor's best interest, which looks bad on Valve's part.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I don't think it's getting to that area with Nintendo. I think they're just kind of putting some rules into place because they've probably had a developer roundtable saying we're sick of seeing 44 bundles of a AAA clock, and then they drop it to 19 cents because they find a loophole to get it cheaper, because it used to be you could go down to a penny, and Nintendo put a stop to that, saying you can't do that. But now
Right.
there's ones who will make it semi cheap, and then they're allowed to put it on sale and get it as low as like 50 cents sometimes. So it's a mess. And there is even developers who will give away their games for free, which I don't have a problem with that, other than the fact that it shouldn't then go on their top 10 seller list because you gave it away for free through an email.
Right.
So there's little things here and there that I'm glad they're cleaning up. And the biggest thing for me was asset flips, and so whatever the hot game on PC was, whether it be like chained together, you saw like 16 chained together games that weren't the actual game you wanted to play. And like for me, I watched somebody play Supermarket Simulator, and I was like, that looks cool. But you go on the eShop, and there's like 44 simulators, TCG simulators, Pokemon copy simulators, and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I didn't want any of that. I don't think because there's ESRB for some of these other games that they're a little bit more well protected in terms of like the ones from your looking at your collection.
Yeah. Like I said, I was just trying to look for some examples
Yeah,
I
I
could
think those will
see.
be mostly safe. I think it's just the egregious ones that are just like move these blocks and see a tit, or
Yeah.
or stuff like that, that are just trying to make a quick buck. So I'm more than happy to see any of the quick buck ones go on the wayside.
Chase, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good probably to get rid of the shovelware, to be fair. Like, it's been there for a while, and Nintendo, like, I was quite surprised when the whole Switch eShop thing, when Nintendo was taking this very hands-off approach to it for as long as they have, and they allowed it to go on. I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is not what I expected from Nintendo at all. And then now they're starting to finally be like, okay, guys, you've had your fun. Now it's time to fuck off. Now, and so I'm like, yep, okay. I'm fine with. I don't necessarily mind. I kind of agree with the last bit, like with your examples on there, Jeremy, because like I found that one to be kind of interesting, like their wording on that particular subject. But because that's what art generally kind of is generally
Yeah.
speaking, a lot of people make art that kind of shows like, that portrays some sort of thing, whether it be like some sort of like social construct or whatever, and or social issue and stuff. So I thought that was kind of an interesting one that they put on there, but it is what it is.
And I do agree with Steven's thought that like ESRB and other rating systems tend to help with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, they were just examples that I was looking at going like, okay, what could be potentially like if it was just released right now as an indie title, like could be viewed as,
Yeah,
questionable. And that's just why I threw it together.
I think if it's used tastefully in terms of it was there for the story, it was there, as a whole piece.
Yeah.
I think that's where Nintendo's considering it like, okay, that's allowed, but when it's just like blatant, where if it's like Kid Punching Simulator 1000 or something like that, that's like, hey, no, we're not doing that because that's not artistic. That's that's not showing off anything except for you're exploiting. So they already said they don't want anything being exploited.
Yeah, because it comes up with the whole argument that every media has ever had about art and how it's viewed, because art comes down to each individual person.
Yeah.
There are people that, we talked about Doom earlier and stuff like that, that will absolutely refuse to play those because it's against their religion or, or their view of it. And I was like, that's fine. If you don't like it, you don't have to play it, but there shouldn't be a line of just stopping others from it. But I also understand the point of you're just making a stupid slop game. Like it's just, you're trying to flood the
Yeah,
market and
unlike
exploit
the
people.
other two systems, like
Yeah.
unlike PlayStation and Xbox, you can click, you can scroll down and you can click on the publisher, and you can see if they make total and utter slop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes you find a diamond in a rough because you see that the company bought the rights to some old 16-bit titles and got the rights to re-release those, so you get to play those again. I'll spend money on that because I'll support you getting the rights and re-releasing them because it's preservation. But when
Right.
you're giving me like bounce a ball to party like 1 2 3 4 5, I'm just like, all right, you're regurgitating. And for them to be like, we're gonna get rid of regurgitation, I was like, thank God.
Yeah, I just hope that they, they're careful about how they do it. That's the main thing, and just that they're not curtailing. As I know they're doing it by regions, and certain regions have different thoughts and beliefs on this, and depending on how that's going to affect the game. So
I think
we shall see.
after some of the crap, especially that, what was that, meme hunt or whatever on Wii U,
Oh yeah, I remember
like,
that.
and the letter on Wii U.
Mm.
I think after games like that, I think they're at least taking past examples as just like, we're not going down that road again.
Because I have seen games that would quote unquote look cheap that are actually really fun. Like they've been well designed, good games, and you're just like, oh, okay, it's just the art style or what they're going for, but you can also tell that they should be able to at least, if they submit it, okay, here's what it is, and be able to tell that and kind of go from there. So who knows? All right, so let's go over to the speed run. Kind of a long one this week. It's going to be a slow speed run. So the first official poster for Supergirl, coming June 2026, has been shown, with Kara standing in front of a wall that says "Look up," but the "up" is painted out to say "Look out." And I thought that was kind of well done. And she's just sitting there drinking a drink. And if you zoom in and look at the poster, her hands are covered in blood. So she's beating the shit out of somebody or something's going on. But they're basing this a lot on the, what was it? Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow book, which I'm actually looking to order one of those. I've seen parts of it. It's a really well written story that's kind of a darker one, showing Kara dealing with the fact that she's one of the last surviving of Krypton, which didn't bother Clark as much because he didn't remember it. He was a baby, but she lived there. It was her family that died, and she, was sent out from it. So that's a lot of PTSD to deal with. And that's, what she's doing, kind of going to these planets with Red Sun so she can get drunk, trying to drink her sorrow out of it and, fight and do all these other things. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, and I want to see how this continues the DC
And I think
movies.
After the success of crypto increasing adoptions over 500% in adoption centers for dogs, all right, James Gunn, make sure it's Streaky the Super Cat is with Supergirl.
Well, Crypto's going to be with her in this one because that's where he's from. He's actually in the book too. So,
but I want the cat. I want the cat to come around because the cat's hers, and we need the cat, so the cat gets some time in the adoption field too.
We'll have to see. I don't know if they'll have that one in there. I think they just brought back Crypto, but I agree. We could work it in there. But then you get into the whole thing of the horse, and then there's a monkey, and then
Cat and
gets
dog,
weird.
it's enough. No one's gonna adopt a billion horses. It's like just
Yeah, the horse thing was weird anyways, because the horse was actually a dude, like a centaur, that turned into a full horse. 1950s comics were weird.
you're telling me. I keep seeing the one that said the only thing that stops Superman from marrying Supergirl is that it's illegal on Krypton.
Oh God.
And it's in one, and they even mention which Action Comics it is. It's like 889 or something. That he's just like, Kara, we can't get married. It's illegal on Krypton. But I was just like,
That's terrifying.
retcon.
Oh. Next up, GameStop auctioned off that Switch 2 we talked about with the staple through the box for $250,000 for the Children's Miracle Network charity. So somebody got the fabled box, the staple, the repaired Switch 2. So they got a Switch 2 out of this, and some of the other stuff with it, and the actual stapler that got used for the event. So that was kind of funny. DragX Drive will have a global jam test run event on August 9th and August 10th for Switch 2 online users, at that time. So we'll get to try that out and see how the game works. I want to try it. I don't know if it's going to be one that I actually end up getting, but I'm at least curious to see. It could be fun, or it could be terrible. I have no idea. Analog announced that they delayed the Analog 3D another month. So instead of coming out this month, it's supposed to be out next month. I am still super hesitant about this because I love the idea of it and I want one, but they have yet to show a single freaking screenshot or video of what it actually looks like playing it. And it comes out in a month. They're posting clips and videos of all their other hardware every freaking day, but will not post a single thing of it running N64, which puts zero faith in that game system right now. Like, that is a huge red flag if you will not show anything. I think, good God, the Amico tried to show off more gameplay than this thing has.
Yeah.
That's terrible. So, I don't know. Hopefully, because I love my other analog systems. My Super Nintendo, my Genesis, my handhelds. Like, they're absolutely fantastic. So I have some faith in that. But it's just super weird why they are being so secretive about it.
They're coming out with a 24 karat gold one.
Oh, that's terrible. All right. Universal Pictures and Nintendo have registered the copyright for a Donkey Kong movie. And are either of you actually surprised by this?
No.
How the turntable.
Yeah, I could tell from the Mario movie that they
go from
teeing up
suing
a Donkey
Nintendo
Kong.
back in the day for being like, can we have a copyright?
Hey, can we work with you on this? So, yeah, we'll be seeing Donkey Kong. It'll probably still be Seth Rogen. So
I'm fine with that. He's the perfect Donkey Kong, and
he was pretty funny.
I will die on that hill.
I hope we get Diddy Kong and them back. Like, they were already there. You know they're there. Bring them back.
Just don't get Diddy to be Diddy Kong.
That's terrible. Dragami Games and Nada Holdings are going to jointly develop new Lollipop Chainsaw projects. So we'll be getting more of Lollipop Chainsaw. Did not see that coming. Kind of thought that series kind of died out. Like, we had the original. They did a remake update of it, and I thought that was it. Square Enix has decided that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 for Switch will not have any means to upgrade it to the Switch 2 release at all. Because Square Enix got a Square Enix. And it gets worse. On top of that, the Switch 2 release will be a keycard title, and the save data for the versions will not be compatible. So if you started and play through it on the Switch 1, and you buy the Switch 2 version, tough luck, you're starting over. You cannot bring your save over at all. Many third-party developers are kind of looking to take advantage of keycard loophole with the Switch 2 to release titles without having to actually supply the full game, and it's becoming more of an issue that Nintendo seems unable or unwilling to try and resolve, I feel. And I'm kind of worried about that. Go ahead, Steven.
Oh, okay. Stop raising my hand. Okay. The problem I have is that there's no consistency. So they just announced and they put it out there that the Final Fantasy Tactics remake has a free upgrade. So you can buy the Switch 1 edition and get the free upgrade or $10. Either way, I think it's a free upgrade. And then you're good to go. So why does one Square Enix game allow for a free upgrade, but then the other one's just like, no? we're not doing it. So it's like, how do you decide that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Key cards are what they are. I don't care what people think about them. I'll still support them
Right.
because right now, because of the speed and and I won't say the proprietariness, I would just say the newness of these like SDD like super speed
The
memory
express
cards
cards, yeah.
um are getting to the fact where they need smaller ones down the line. And while there is ones you can get right now for your Switch, it's getting the ones made into a cart. So the choice is not just key card or 64 gigabyte. So you're not just saying, oh, well, it's only 10 gigs, but we're going to put it on a 64 gigabyte cart, because that would be a waste of money. I think this is just a matter of time for things to get better, because Nintendo even addressed it, saying since games keep getting bigger and bigger, the biggest card we can make right now is a 64 gig. So if the game's bigger than that, it has to be a key card, unless they're trying to do some magic. Which is probably why Activision's like, oh, see, this is why we can't do Call of Duty.
I still
But
call bullshit on that because we
I
got
just
all of
don't
Cyberpunk on there.
like. I just don't like that they can have one game that can have the upgrade and have another one not, when there's not going to be a dramatic difference or added functionality. And we just had Sega finally get the memo, and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds will be complete on cart.
Thank
It'll
God.
next
I will
year,
buy
but
that.
it'll be complete on a cart, not a key card and stuff. So it's like Sega's getting the memo. So they're not like saying, oh, one game could do it, one game cannot. They're just saying, hey, we realize that people want this, so we're changing it to that. So unless this is the NX side of Square Enix saying like, we don't understand technology yet, so we're not going to make anything upgradable. So I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, we've seen such good examples of other companies kind of doing it better. Like Fantasy Life I, it lets you do the upgrade for like $3, be it digital or physical, and it plays just fine on the Switch too. Shoot, the Pac-Man one you just got earlier, Shadow Labyrinth, that's a free upgrade. You just, oh, I got it on Switch, put the cartridge in, get the update, boom, done. It plays Switch 2 version. Like, so much easier to go back and forth on that. There's so many things they could do, and it just feels like Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is not a crazy large game, so they should be able to just do the update for Switch 1 and just carry it over. But
it's extremely nice to say, I can get this game for $30 and then upgrade to Switch 2 edition, instead of pay $10 more and get a code in a box.
yeah, I couldn't even find confirmation on that. Like, and the import one, I don't even think we got a Switch 2 physical air
I don't
quotes
think we did either,
here.
because they're not showing it off in their store or anything like that. So
Yeah, everything seems to be
I
like
think we're
Japanese and
safe.
stuff.
I think we're on the good route.
Yeah. Lastly, for this, Microsoft has suddenly ended sales for all movies and TV shows from the Xbox and Windows Store with no notice. They just immediately took them down. Somebody did notice, though, right at the end, they had a sale on world-ending movies, which they don't know if that was just coincidental or someone was just making a nice joke at the end. It's like end of the world movies are all on sale.
So what happens if I go to the Xbox store on my Xbox now? Does it just, it's not there, or?
Yeah, there shouldn't. I don't think there's any movie section or anything like that now. You can't like rent movies, buy movies, TV shows, stuff like that. Current content is watchable, but nothing is transferable, so there'll be no refunds issued if you want to try and build up a library somewhere else. And no word if future hardware or OSs will support the content. So once this Xbox goes out, or Windows upgrades or changes, your content may not be available to play on those anymore if they don't support the license. So it's kind of a weird turnaround, because you had, the downfall, air quotes, of Xbox being the whole Xbox One TV, and now they just got rid of it completely. So now we don't have TV and we don't have our own games. So Microsoft's just screwed up on both sides of it.
We want physical movies and digital games, right?
They messed that up. So, yeah. All right. Let's go over to the big question for this week. So, once again, this is a question from Steven. So, I will let you ask it.
So I was basically looking through some of the stuff I was playing, some old titles, and I was like, what are the games that made you the gamer you are today? Can you give us a top 3 or top 5? And these can be like, you can put a monumental story behind it, an emotional story behind it, or you can say this was the first genre of platformer or fighting game that I played. So because of that, I tried all fighting games that came out from there. So that can also be what made you the gamer you are today. Is you're like, I loved this one, so now whenever I hear this genre, I have to try it out.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of curious about how the answers for this were going to be because I had to give mine some thought. I saw the question and I was like, oh, it's not super complicated, but damn it, I have to think about it. So it finally came to me earlier. But so I'll go ahead and start off. So for me, my first one has to be Super Mario Brothers, the original NES release, because that was the first platformer I ever played. Which, of course, I have the love of platformers that I've always enjoyed. It was getting used to that Nintendo controller and just having access to that and how it actually functioned just locked me in for those kind of adventure games for life. Like I absolutely love playing those. And I've played Super Mario Brothers, I can't tell you how many times, on so many different formats, on so many different handhelds, tabletops, like whatever. I have just about every version of it. Got so far as I have a collection of Super Mario Brother cartridges of the different variations on the NES because there were variants of them. Like that's how bad I got with it. Next up was Super Metroid. Of course, this was the early 1990s release on the Super Nintendo. It was the first game I can ever remember hearing speech. Like it blew my mind when it had that whole, the galaxy, the last Metroid is in captivity, the galaxy is now at peace. I'd never heard something talk before and was just like, holy, and not to this level on a console. I'd heard some computers say stuff and that was about it. But this is what got me into a love even more than the original Metroid, because I played that a lot. But this one, I could explore the world. It felt alive. And I kind of really fell in love with Metroidvanias by this title. Metroid I tried to map out, but like the additions of what they had in this one kind of solidified it. And it's still considered to me the best game ever made. I've played a lot of stuff, but to me personally, this is, if I had to pick one game I can only ever play the rest of my life, it would be this. Yeah, I've played it a lot, but it is art. It is technically beautiful. The music is great. Like everything about it I love. And it's just kind of, it's the whole reason like I'm wanting to play Shadow Labyrinth, because as soon as I hear like, oh, it's a Metroidvania, and I'm going, haha, okay, I will try that. And it's great. Lastly is a game called Amazing. This is on the Macintosh from 1984. This is the first video game and computer I ever played. I still have the computer down here to my left, down at the bottom of the shelf. I'm rebuilding it, trying to recap the board and get it running again. But so it's a fairly simple and actually can be very complex maze game. You can set the level and it just, generates a maze and you work your way through it on the screen and solving it. And it gets more and more complicated where they can be layered. Like you can have multiple layers above each other and stuff, even on this old black and white screen. And it really helped with ability for spatial reasoning when I was a kid. And also just was what got me into understanding that I could play and interact with these computers and do things with them and play games with them, and got me into engineering and technical design and things that I do now. So as much as all the other ones, that's probably the one that literally set a path on my life. Like not just gaming, but me as my career, my hobbies, everything stemmed from that little computer game of just running a dot around a maze. All right, Steven, what about you?
So I have 3. I could come up with more, but I have 3 right now that kind of influenced later games, and kind of put my mindset into place. The earliest we're going to start is Maniac Mansion, but for Commodore 64. That was one game that really showed off when it had the music in the intro, showed off the Commodore, what it could do with its sound chip. And as a fan growing up of Choose Your Own Adventure books, I enjoyed stuff like Zork, but it was still kind of limiting to me because I couldn't really visualize what I was seeing, and some of the pictures were very crude. Maniac Mansion gave me a cast of characters, which influenced even the movies I watch now, of having a cast of characters that have specific abilities. And just the fact that you could have a different group each time, different endings, storylines, and it was because of that that point and click became like a big thing. Where if I heard the word point and click, I was like, I want to try that out. I want to try this out. So to this day, it's still, it's got me even excited for Switch 2, saying like, please guys, make some point and clicks to use the mouse, because there's just something relaxing about playing those. We move up a few generations. We get to Mendel Palace, which is made by Game Freak,
Okay.
which helped bring upon Pokemon, and it had the art of Ken Sugimori, who went on to draw all the Pokemon characters. So it's got a nice little history behind it. A lot of people call it a deep cut. That one kind of taught me like sometimes a game can look really cool on the outside, and you might be surprised of how it plays. I can't really describe Mendel Palace easily to people, because while you do have these different worlds where you fight specific characters like sumos and swimmers and artists, you're dealing with their abilities, and you're trying to basically shuffle the cards on the floor to knock them into the wall and kill them. So it's not an easily describable game, and that helped me want to try games where it's really hard for me to describe, like Ball X Pit. Like, it's one of those, just like at some point I'm just like, play it and tell me what you think, because I can't describe really. I can maybe name some games that might be crossed with, but it just helped me understand unique games like that. And then lastly, going back to, they kind of have a theme here, is this last one showed me that a story can be really, really good, to the fact that even if the gameplay is simple and rudimentary, that the story can hold it together. It's why Snatcher is my annual playthrough. Either I watch a playthrough or I play it again. I've got it so I don't run down my poor Sega CD disc now.
You got me to play it one time.
I've got it digital on other things, so I can just play it that way. But that was the peak of Hideo Kojima's storytelling. I think he faltered after that. He's never been the same since. Hopefully he can get back to that one day, but right now he's I don't know, he's underwater.
Ooh, Chase has
But
got
anyway,
that disagree face on.
but anyway, like yeah, it just helped. And then sometimes a story can just grab you so much that something can be simple and you'll still enjoy it. And um, sometimes you get a bonus like Expedition 33, where you get an amazing story mixed with addicting mechanics, and they go well together. So I don't think anyone will disagree with me on Snatcher and Hideo Kojima storytelling, especially not Chase. So yeah.
I don't know if I'd agree with that part of it, but I will say thank you again for getting me to actually play it, because that was a lot of fun. All right, Chase, what about you?
First, I want to start off by saying "fuck you, Swan." These questions are bullshit. So, but I'll give it my best go. So my first game actually is also by Hideo Kojima, and it is Metal Gear Solid for the PS1. I would not say that. I would say that that's probably the peak right there. And then after, like, I mean, you had 2 and 3, which were really good, and then it started to kind of taper off. And now he's just, I don't know. I think he's like the director of like FedEx or something. But Metal Gear Solid 1 was like, because like stealth espionage games, I didn't really have anything that got me into them. And then all of a sudden, like, I just played this game and it just clicked. I was trying to do everything without setting off alarms. I was trying to find like the best ways to like get around the guards. The gameplay was, well, the control system was jank as fuck. It was like, it had its own, I guess there was like, it had character. Let's just call it character. That's what they usually say, right? It has character. When it has flaws, it has character.
Nuances.
Yeah, nuance. You can't say nuance
character
on the internet anymore, so apparently. So, yeah, nuance. But yeah, the controls were jank as hell, but the story was like weird. It was really weird. Like at one point, there's a floating guy that looks like he's in a bondage suit in the middle of an office, but okay, he's the boss. I guess that's who I'm fighting right now.
You like
And
Castlevania, don't you?
yeah, and then to find out that actually I have to unplug my controller to plug it into a different port just to beat him. That was cool. That was cool as fuck. Um and yeah, like then we had Metal Gear Solid 2, which some people loved and hated. 3 was phenomenal. I enjoyed 4, a lot of people didn't. And I still enjoyed 5 for what it was. So I followed the story ever since then. Um Then the next one that I came up with, this one, it was kind of because like I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, like I feel like Mario Kart would just be like the boring answer because technically Mario Kart was like the first racing game I played, but and I really enjoy the racing genre, but like because I had it in 64 and I did play Mario Kart 64 and I really enjoyed it, but MotorStorm on the PS3 for me was probably the game that got me into like actually racing the most because I actually like, you know, and the way that it did it was great because like I've played, I can't remember which Gran Turismo I played on like the PS2, and
There's
then I think
3
I've
and
also
4 that
played
were
like
on there.
yeah, and then like I think I played a Need for Speed as well that was on the PS1 or 2, and like they were okay, but I just didn't really get into them, and then as I got older and I actually appreciated I don't know if it was just because I was older and then I just appreciated racing with in MotorStorm more, but just the you know certain vehicles drive better in certain pathways, trying to figure out which best path to take that the vehicle you're in is in, the fact that you could like if you were on the dirt bike or the ATVs, you could actually just like drive up next to somebody and punch them off the thing. I thought was hilarious. And
I
that
just always
intro,
remember. Oh, go ahead.
that menu music was in the main menu was that was bumping.
I was gonna say, like, when since PlayStation still does it to this day, where you hover over your game title and it plays a song.
Mm-hmm.
That one I would just I forgot once and I left it on there, and it was the greatest song ever. And it's just like I could just listen to that all day long.
I wish we had a new MotorStorm. I think they would do really good for getting a new one, but
Well, because they made
We got
3.
Onrush. We got Onrush.
I said new MotorStorm.
Yeah, well the MotorStorm, I think the original people that originally made MotorStorm went to a different studio and then they made Onrush, which is
Gotcha.
closest thing that you could get to kind of MotorStorm, and I played the hell out of that game.
Yeah, we played a lot of that.
I have it. I played it some, but I need to get online.
I think
again
they
with
shut
it.
off the servers now.
Yeah, they did.
That sucks.
And so yeah, MotorStorm's always kind of held a special place for me because now like I have an appreciation for racing games more. I play GT7, I play Forza. Racing games have only gotten better. And so I think that MotorStorm for me is probably where I really grew into like enjoying the racing genre the most. As far as platforming and adventure, Donkey Kong 64 definitely gets a special mention from me. I just absolutely love this game, and I still to this day, word for word, can recite the Decay rap at the intro.
Finally here.
I will let you know there's a remix of it that is in Donkey Kong Bonanza, so you can play it in your little hideouts.
That's awesome. Yeah, just the go ahead.
I was gonna say the only other thing I've gotten from Donkey Kong 64 is a marriage, also. So,
oh, there you go.
Yeah, good.
Bringing people together.
Running marriage, yeah.
And because of that game, people are spray painting their Bonanza carts to be yellow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Missed the boat on that one. Nintendo.
Yeah,
because I got that. I think that was the game that came with the expansion pack.
Yeah, required it.
It was one of them, yeah.
And I just remember trying to figure out, like, how can I get this character to that location to get this thing that I need? And it was one of the few games that I had to work out, like, problem solving and trying to figure out, like, what I needed to get to certain locations, things like that. As a young kid, that was, I just thought it was like this super cool and awesome thing. Being able
Oh, I just lost audio for you, Chase. What happened? You muted yourself on accident, man.
Oops. I don't know how I did that. But
I don't know. I
did it.
didn't do it.
I don't know how I did that because I wasn't touching my mouse. But anyway, just being able to, like, switch between the just being able to switch between the Kongs and them all having, like, their different abilities and stuff. As a young kid, it just made a huge impression on me.
So it trained you for State of Decay. Okay.
Yeah, kind of.
So I would like to apologize to Nintendo. I know you're trying to shut our audio down. We will talk about Donkey Kong Bonanza some more. Let us talk about another Donkey Kong for a little bit.
Yep.
Don't be cranky, Kong.
Oh, I found
Well
cranky
done.
today. Yeah, well done.
And then while I was thinking about this, while they were talking, I just thought of the last one, and so I had put it in there because this one. So a lot of people know that I'm a huge fan of the Gears of War series. Absolutely love it. It's one of my top game franchises all time.
Mm-hmm.
The game that really kind of set the bar for it, though, and what kind of really got me into it was a game that I got on the PS2 called Rogue Trooper. Such a good game. Made by Rebellion.
Yeah, I was noticing when I was messing with Zombie Army 4, I could get Rogue Trooper stuff in the game, like skins and helmets and things.
Yep. Rogue Trooper was the first game that I played where I could actually go into cover. It had, like, this cover-based system. The ability to, like, after the first mission where, like, your teammates die and you put their chips into, like, you put the one guy's chip into your gun, another one into your helmet, and then another one into your backpack. Having the ability to, for instance, like, set your gun up as a turret, and you could have it, like, overwatching another, like, section and stuff. It was such a cool concept because, like, I would replay levels and try different things just to, like, just to see what new and interesting things I could come up with. All the different attachments you get for your gun, but really just the cover-based system. It was quite unique for me at the time. There wasn't really a lot of games that tried it. And then down the line, I happened to come across a Game Informer magazine with the front and the cover story was this game called Gears of War, and it was featuring a cover system. And I was like, shit, I really need an Xbox 360 now.
I haven't gotten mine in yet. I'm still waiting on it.
Welcome back, Game Informer.
Welcome back. And it was Gears of War and Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter were the two reasons why I wanted a Xbox 360. So, yeah, that would be my 4.
Nice. All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good wrap up for our big question this week. So let me wrap that up early. All right. Well, so you can find the podcast in an audio form wherever you listen to your shows, video version over on YouTube at our channel, Zenspath COM. Both can easily be found over at zenspath.com/podcast. You can leave us a review if you can to help us grow, like and share the show with others. Leave us a comment like our friend did here recently about Doom 2025. That'll also kind of let us know how we feel about the show, answer the big question as well if you'd like, kind of let us know what your most referential games or the most important ones to you, or what made you what you are for that. You can also talk to us directly over on our Discord as the easiest way to find us and chat with the latest news and happenings for the show. Link for the Discord is bit.ly/ZenspathDiscord. You can also find that over at zenspath.com. We have everything listed there for both our shorts, the the actual podcast itself in both audio form for Libsyn, Apple, the YouTube videos, all that stuff, plus articles that we write and other things that are there too. So take a look at that sometime, see what you think, and just hit us up. All right. Well, I've been your host, Jeremy Powers, joined once again by Steven and Chase this week as we go through episode 180. This is the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
24 karat gold.
Oh, I am not looking forward to this thing.